Good morning. It's Wednesday morning, and today we will read Acts 14:19 through the end of the chapter, through 28. When the Jews came from Antioch and Iconium, and having persuaded the crowds, they stoned Paul and dragged him out of the city, supposing that he was dead. But when the disciples gathered about him, he rose up and entered the city, and on the next day he went with Barnabas to Derbe. When they had preached the gospel to that city and had made many disciples, they returned to Lystra and to Iconium and to Antioch, strengthening the souls of the disciples, encouraging them to continue in the faith, and saying that through many tribulations we must enter the kingdom of God. And when they had appointed elders for them in every church, with prayer and fasting, they committed them to the Lord, in whom they had believed. Then they passed through Pisidia and came to Pamphylia. When they had spoken the word in Perga, they went down to Attalia, and from there they sailed to Antioch, where they had been commended to the grace of God for the work that they had fulfilled. And when they had arrived and gathered the church together, they declared all that God had done with them, and how he had opened a door of faith to the Gentiles, and they remained no little time with the disciples. So these people from Antioch and Iconium are still angry at Paul, and they come down to Lystra where he is, and they grab him and they stone him. Now, stoning involves throwing big rocks at people, and breaking bones and stuff. Usually it kills you. And so they thought he was dead. They dragged him out of the city, and he got up, and it says re-entered the city. And I don't know if they were still around or if they were just so stunned that he stood up and walked that they were afraid of him, but he went back into the city. The next day, he went with Barnabas to Derbe, some distance, so, a trip. They preached the gospel in Derbe and made many disciples. Then they returned to Lystra and Iconium, and then to Antioch in Turkey there. So some time must have passed. They must have spent a while in Derbe, because he goes back to the very places that tried to kill him before. At any rate, he goes back to each place, strengthens the souls of these disciples, encouraging them, and appoints elders at each church, and says, now, you people will be in charge, and, prayer and fasting, and then, God be with you. Then they go through some regions, Pisidia and Pamphylia, and from there they sail, from Attalia, they sail to Antioch of the big Antioch, the one that is near Syria. And they go there and they tell the church how God has done all this great work among the Gentiles. And so I think what we see is that they're absolutely fearless. They go right back to the place that tried to stone them. And perhaps some time had passed and people's, the emotion had cooled down, but they're right back in the same place. And as I say, they're fearless, and if they get killed, they get killed. So what? This is how fearless and courageous and brave these people were. And there's a lesson for us, if people kick us out because we're Christians, we don't have to go back the next day, but soon after that we could go back and try again, as it were, or strengthen the people that we met the first time, however it works for you. So there's something to think about today. Now, let me say this. This is going to be the last one of these for a while. I'm going on a trip, leaving Friday morning, and tomorrow will be hectic. Actually, leaving tomorrow, but flying out Friday. And so I won't be back here until July the 11th. So you have a week off from these devotions. And on the 11th, we'll start with the Council of Jerusalem in Acts 15, which is a kind of somewhat of a section break in the book of Acts. And that'll be good for us too. So we'll see you in a week or so. Have a great week. Have a great time. Keep the faith. And we'll see you then.